So, how important was Doug Risebrough to the Montreal Canadiens dynasty of the late 1970s? Well, very prominent. We'll get this in a second. But on Sports File today, we're going to talk about the guy who Ken Dryden once called one of the most interesting people that he had as a roommate, because he would start reading his book and fall asleep right away. And he allowed Dryden to get enough sleep to be the player he was. But what he did on the ice, especially on the Tremblay-Lambert line, despite the fact he was injured quite a bit in his career with Montreal, he went above and beyond the call. Now, in his 31 years in the NHL, he's involved with the Stanley Cup playoffs 25 times. Now, he's currently a pro scout for the New York Rangers. Now, born in Guelph, he was the Montreal Canadiens' first pick, 7th overall, in the 74 NHL amateur draft. In 8 seasons with the Habs, he helped Montreal capture 4 consecutive Stanley Cups from 76 and 79. Now, eventually traded to the Flames before the start of the 82-83 season. He spent the next 5 seasons with Calgary. During his tenure with the Flames, he skated as the Flames co-captain, then tri-captain for 4 seasons with both Lanny McDonald and Jim Poplinski. In 86, as a tri-captain, he led the Flames to his 5th Stanley Cup finals as a player, but he eventually lost to his former team, the Habs, in 5 contests. Throughout his career, Risebrough was an agitator, often assigned to pester the opponent's top players. In one famous chapter of the Battle of Alberta, Risebrough, while playing with the Flames, fought with Marty McSorley of the Oilers. Risebrough lost the battle, but ended up with McSorley's jersey, which he shredded with his skates. In 748 career NHL games, he scored 185 goals and 471 points. He added 21 goals and 37 counters in 124 Stanley Cup playoff matches. He also held a total of 1,542 penalty minutes during the regular season, an additional 238 in the playoffs. During his 13-year career, teams in which Risebrough played recorded a .660 regular season win percentage, .607, .274, .159. So let's look at a deep dive into his early career. 5'11", 178, born again in Guelph. Last team was Kitchener of the OMJHL. Now, his big prominence came with Guelph of the SOJHL. His biggest season was in 73, where he had 47 counters and 107 points in 60 contests. Now, his draft year, he had 52 points in 46 games. Now, he won the Centennial Trophy in 72 at Guelph. He was the SOJHL points, goals, and assists leader in 72-73, and ranked in the Hockey News draft preview issue as the number 16 overall prospect in the 74 NHL draft. Of course, that's the one that brought in Tremblay. Missing end of a 73-4 season while recovering from surgery to repair a torn knee. He got his debut on October 9th, 74, wearing his famous number 8, which he also held in Calgary. Now, he did win a cup with Calgary as an assistant coach in 89 and retired in 87, although a lot of people thought he could still play. Now, again, he was Calgary co-captain from 83 to 87, and he was Montreal's penalty minutes later from 75 to 77 inclusive. Now, he led Montreal in the playoffs penalty minutes in 75, 76, and 79, and led Calgary in penalty minutes in 83. Now, he was named Calgary's AC on June 9, 87, and remained there until June 27, 89, ironically right after he won the Cup. He was eventually named Calgary's head coach in May 1990 and remained there up until March 92. Now, he was AGM for Calgary from 89 and remained there until 91. He was named Calgary GM on May 16, 91, and added title of Vice President in 92 and remained there until November 2nd, 95. He was named Edmonton Vice President of Hockey Operations in October 96 and remained there until 99. Now, he was named Minnesota Executive Vice President GM on September 2nd, 99, and remained there in 2003. He was named Minnesota President GM on July 23rd, 2003, and remained there in that position through 2007. Now, his injuries are just beyond and beyond. Separated shoulder in 79, dislocated shoulder in 1980, arthritis in 2 shoulders in 81, twisted right knee in 83, and of course he played on the big line with Richard Crom and Colin Patterson with Calgary during 84 campaign, which led to some violent hits. He also scored the first penalty shot in the history of Calgary's Saddledome versus Pittsburgh on September 16, 84. He was eventually suspended by the NHL for the first 6 regular season games in 85 for swinging his stick at Glenn Anderson during a Calgary-Edmonton playoff contest on April 12, 84. Now, he missed the majority of the 85 season with a severe groin injury and did not return until late February 85. He also assisted Calgary coaching staff while injured during the 85 season. Now, knee surgery in 87. He suffered injury in a game against Montreal in November 86 and had the surgery to remove old scar tissue from the knee in January 87. He came back for later in the season, was unable to play in consecutive nights for fear of re-aggravating the knee injury, which prompted the decision to retire. He also became the youngest head coach in Atlanta Calgary franchise history when he took job at age 36. Now, the only AHL team he played for was the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. He was also a WHA draft pick by Cleveland in 74, and was also worked with the Canadian national team during the 96 season after losing his job as Calgary's GM. Now, of course, the Risebrough trade, Montreal got very little for it. Todd Francis and Graham Bonner, which, of course, did nothing with Montreal. Now, ironically, the center played 2 seasons in Guelph of the JHL, of course, but they were called different teams. There were CMCs in 72 and the Biltmore Mad Hatters in 73. Now, he did play with the Voyageurs for 7 games in 75. Now, ironically, he only scored 20 goals in the season 3 times. And, of course, his best campaign was 77 with the Tremblay-Lambert line, although Bowman would mix it up quite often. He had 60 points. Now, a coaching record, 46, 26, and 8 in 91, lost in the first round, and resigned in 92. Now, Doug and his wife Marilyn have 2 daughters, Allison and Lindsay, who was a star tennis player at Edina High School and the University of Minnesota. Now, again, after announcing again after his retirement after the 87 campaign, he was an AC with Calgary for 2 years and helped them to 2 consecutive President trophies and 89 Stanley Cup title, his 5th, again, title as a player or coach. Promoted to assistant GM for the Flames and, again, stayed with Calgary for a lot of years. Now, the big denouement was on March 1st, 92, when Riseborough's Flames were beaten by the Canucks 11-0, and he decided immediately after contests to drop his coaching duties to assistant and former Hab Guy Chanot. He did, however, continue his role as GM until 95. Now, prior to joining the Wild, again, he served as the Edmonton Oilers Vice President of Hockey Operations from 96 to 99. He was involved in all aspects of the club's hockey details and helped him to a big turnaround. Now, he left Minnesota when he was relieved of his duties on April 16, 2009. Now, in Calgary, he had seasons of 58 points in 51, 21 counters, and 23 counters in 83-84. And ironically, ladies and gentlemen, even though Montreal did not make the playoffs in 1980, he was injured. He made the playoffs, but he was injured. He did not play. So from the time he entered the NHL to the time he retired, he was almost in every playoff that he was part of. And again, the 4 straight cups. But injuries were a big part of his career. I remember, I think he had a facial injury at one point. He was wearing kind of an NFL-type mask. So, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Risebrough, for what he was a great third-line player from Montreal, where Lambert was getting 30 goals and Tremblay was getting 25. I don't remember him playing much of the power play, but he would play, very strong on 5-on-5. And, of course, he was on the I think Rejean Houle had taken his place on the line. But, again, the whole campaign with Lambert and Tremblay, and like they were the grinder line. And I think one of the first times that I think it was ever referred to on TV, the word grinder, was in relation to Doug Risebrough. I think of all people, Dan Kelly had said it. I think it was a game against the Rangers. And Risebrough, what stood out for me, was better on the road than he was at home. Because I think on the road he was there protecting Lafleur and the other key players. And I don't think Guy Lafleur, Jacques Lemaire, or Peter Mahovlich ever got to a fight when he was on the team. I could be wrong here. But so that's the story of the 5-time Cup winner, Doug Risebrough. If you like what they're doing here with our Calgary Flame and Montreal Canadiens tribute podcast as part of Sports File, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.